Hey everyone, it's Will from Garage Built Athlete and welcome to episode 4 of the Garage Built Athlete podcast. Matt and I wanted to spend a bit of time reviewing the recent video on how I got lean in 8 weeks and stayed lean for a year. Matt was really keen to explore other ways of doing this. From doing it himself recently, he wanted to let you all know that my way wasn't the only way. There are other options. And what follows in this podcast is our attempts to explain that. We do get a little bit sidetracked. So if you feel that we hit that brief, or maybe not, drop a comment below and let us have your feedback. We always want to learn and get better with these videos every time we do them. Everything that we talk about will be linked in the description below. So if you do want to support the channel, use those links if you want to get involved with any of the products or people that we talk about. Another way to support us is if you do like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or if you think it's going to help somebody, share it. It helps us grow and hopefully it will help them too. And lastly, we've got 6 episodes left in this season. If there's something that you want Matt and I to discuss, kick a topic around for a bit, put it in the comments below and let us know what it is and we can put it in the mix. So without further delay, please enjoy episode 4.
So, what number are we on?
4
Number 4.
of 10.
Number 10. Halfway nearly. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, we've done that awkward second album and the awkward third album, haven't we? So now we're on the easy 4th album, which we're semi-prepared for. So it's good. Oh, I am at least.
Yeah, hit us with it. What we're here to talk about today.
So I listened because we all know, or the 58 people that are watching all know that I'm also trying to do this little lean challenge that's been running with Leon.
68.
68, my word. I think since last time was the end of my first challenge, wasn't it? It was the end of part 1, and I don't think we've talked about it since. Is that right? Did we actually close it?
I think we've got one final hurrah left in the Deep Pork Challenge. And I think all 68 of those people are desperately clinging on to our every word at this point. So
I made it. I made it, basically. I made it. That was good. And I think I was like 78.9. So I just snuck under the 79 target. Leon made it as well. So that was good. He was like 82.4. So we both snuck under by 100 grams.
That's pretty good, boys.
Yeah, we were pretty happy with that. And managed to basically carry on and not really lose, like I didn't really get smaller. That was the craziest thing, was that I managed to not get smaller somehow. And I was just thinking about the amount of calories I was eating and tracking and so on, and watched your podcast, or it's not a podcast, is it? Watched your video about
Video, yeah.
getting lean in 8 weeks. So I had a watch of that again and was quite interested in, we've basically used the same headline. So this calorie deficit topic is the same headline, which was really important. And you made this point that just basically that's the critical thing, isn't it? Because I was also thinking when I watched it, I don't think there's another way to get there, is there, other than calorie deficit? I was thinking, okay, if we're saying this calorie deficit, what other options are there for me to actually do this? And I guess there's basically none.
I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, I don't think so. So then I was thinking, okay, that's cool. And as I listened to the podcast, I was listening to your approach and thought, well, this maybe for some people sounds like it's either too much time commitment or too complicated, or they don't have access to some of these things. And was thinking about your situation versus mine, which I know you mentioned it last week that we're from the same parents, so we should be the same, which we have some very similar characteristic, I think, like sticking to something like this and being stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
But we've basically managed to go about this in really quite different ways and still get to a good end result. Like, I'm pretty pleased with what I've managed to do so far.
Well, this morning you sent me an update photo Do you now, like, the option is there? Shall we share the before and after with the 68 people who are here for that?
We could
Basically,
do,
they're
couldn't
here
we?
for that.
We could do. Not right now.
Um,
You'll cut it in afterwards, will you? Or what?
I will put it up in post, so it'll be on the screen right now if I've bothered.
Phew. 'Cause that was, I surprised myself, I think, in the end. Because also what you didn't mention in the video is that you are 42 now, no?
40.
41.
I will be 42 this year.
Yeah,
I am 41. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm 43. And I had a bit of a worm in my ear thinking, like, because I can stay in reasonably good shape all year round, or what I thought was reasonably good shape. And this is not really evidenced by the picture that I sent to you, is it? Because I was like, what is that? What is that mess as the starting point? Actually, it's not a mess, but I thought I was in better shape than I was.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
I mean, this comparison actually brought me some joy, to be honest. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
this is doing pretty good.
Because when you looked back at that one, you said earlier on, you were like, "Yeah, I thought I was doing all right," and then you compare to what you've got now, and you're like, "Oh no, that wasn't okay."
Crazy, 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 crazy. But
And
also, I mean, we're not old, are we? But at 43, which sounds old to say it, but it's not. I was thinking, well, it's just too difficult now. It's too difficult to get like properly lean like that. It's really too difficult. 'Cause I did it years ago when we were training for MMA and so on, and that's the leanest I've ever been, and that was really pretty hardcore. That, and
mhm,
I was thinking about it today that I was 87 kilos and I fought in the end at 68 kilos and did
yeah,
that in something like 3 or 4 months or something like that.
mhm, mhm.
Because you were already quite close to weight, weren't you, when you were doing that?
Yeah, well, I think that kick-started something for me back in the day, which is around about 2009,
Well, the fight was
2008.
2008. The fight was
Yeah,
2008.
yeah.
And the lead up to that was 2007 because you were already training a little bit, weren't you? You were training like jujitsu and
Yes.
mainly jujitsu, no? Going up to that. And it was the first time I think that you'd started to actually train properly and consistently in like Top Body or somewhere after I'd come back from uni. And then we started to train in the summer, didn't we? In 2004 or five.
I think I was training because I had a more of an active job,
Hmm.
and I did the jujitsu, and then yeah, possibly some other bits and pieces around that. But I remember quite clearly training in the back garden with the Bas Rutten MMA tapes and using that as cardio. And I literally skipped that weight off. I skipped
Mhm.
every single day, and I got down to 70 kilos at just under 6 foot. So
Yeah.
pretty.
Because you won a transformation competition, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, that was before that. That was before that. So yeah,
Was
I
it?
suppose this. Yeah, I think. Yeah, because I didn't. Um, yeah, there was before that. I'm pretty sure because I had a different job again before that. I
Was that
can't
not
remember the year.
human, was it? Maybe
No, that
2004 or something like that, maybe.
that was
Ballpark.
Boatyard.
Ah, was it?
Mm, mhm. I
Okay.
remember getting Maxim magazine from the newsagents in Beccles because my photo was in there for
No
like a
way.
my protein. Yeah, I've got it upstairs. The my
There's Maxi
protein.
Muscle. Was it not Maxi Muscle, the thing?
Yeah, Maxim Muscle was the competition that was featured in Maxim magazine. I just don't know if that even exists anymore. I'm not much
I
of a
think it might
magazine
do.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've gone off on a massive tangent there. Basically, I was thinking, okay, 42, 43, there's not really any hope. 2008, I managed to do it, but was training like really a lot. And that was interesting when you were talking about the amount of training hours you did. I was thinking, God, that sounds like a lot of training for people. And I was just thinking it'll be interesting to contrast how you did it and how I've done it and see if
Mhm.
that makes it potentially a bit more accessible for people who might listen to that first one and think, oh, that's really a lot of time, a lot of commitment, a lot of tracking. I'm not much of a tracker.
Mm,
Can we make it a little bit more accessible for people? I was thinking.
yeah. So I think if you haven't watched that video and you're interested, then go back and have a watch of that. It's about 15 minutes and it's not too
20,
far back on
20 minutes. Yeah,
20
20 minutes.
minutes, not too far back on the channel. And yeah, I suppose one of the driving factors for me in terms of exercising more was I didn't want to have to eat lots less, and I didn't want to have to feel like I wasn't allowed something or was depriving myself of something. And in my head, what I was doing was I was getting fitter because I was training more,
Mm.
and that also meant that I could eat lots. Really, I mean, I could eat lots when I went under and did the regular calorie deficit work, which I kind of laid out the amount of calories that I was under and what that equated to a day. It was about 500 a day, I think. That still enabled me, because I was the amount I was training, because the amount I was burning, it still enabled me to have a decent amount of food and not feel like, oh, can't have this, can't have that. I'm hungry all the time, thinking about food all the time. So yeah, that's kind of my approach to that, because I've done the
I was
other way.
gonna, mm, yeah, being hungry.
And it sucks.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. One of the questions, because you mentioned that over the month, your calorie deficit averaged out. I think you worked out the calorie deficit for the month and then you worked it out for the
Mm.
day. And it was like 500 calories per day, I think, in the
Yeah,
first month, because you had the first month where there was like a 2 kilo drop, something like that. And then the second month, there was this, not necessarily, I don't know if the drop was much bigger, was it? But yeah, actually, you then all of a sudden got very lean somehow. Like that made a huge
yeah.
difference the next two somehow. Huh?
It was a bigger percentage of my overall mass, I suppose. If it's the same amount on the scales, it's just more of me that came off, and I think
Yeah,
that's
true.
really started to kind of shred away a lot of that stuff. I was just leaning over because I've got a notebook here, which would probably have all the info, because it took me a while to map all that stuff out, and kind of lay it all out in terms of the sessions I did, the hours I did, the calories. So I've got pretty much everything. Yeah, it was. Started off around 80 kilos. First month went down to 78.1. And so, yeah, so that was just under 2 kilos. The next
Hmm.
month was 74.4. So
Okay,
just
so
under 4 kilos.
3.5-ish. Yeah, 3.5-ish. Okay, so that is a
Yeah.
big jump, isn't it? It's like double almost the other one. But what was the calorie burn? Sorry, what was the calorie burn from exercise that you did? Because that was the bit I couldn't work out. When you said
Mm,
2,300 calories, like if I want to put weight on, I have to eat 2,300 calories to put weight on. So I was thinking, wow, that amount of training must have been huge. But then when you talked about the training time, actually your training time was less than my training time.
hmm.
So there's then a topic of efficiency of training, which
Yeah.
your type of training I think is then more efficient, but also different. But the main thing I was interested in was, okay, do you know roughly how many calories that was in training per day to then allow you to eat 2,300 calories? Because that's a lot of food, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just roughly, maybe, or like pick a
Yeah,
day
so
out of
roughly,
the.
I mean, if I was, let's say I train twice a day and I do a CrossFit session and then an erg session, so a cardio one, and that would be, say, 2 hours total training time in a day. I'd say that the CrossFit sessions averaged anywhere between 300 and 600 calories. So
Hmm.
that's literally, I press go on the tracker. We have the whiteboard brief. We do the warm up,
Okay.
do the training, finish, lay down, cry for a bit, and then stop the tracker. So yeah, about 300 to 600 depending on the session. The more weightlifting it is, or the more powerlifting. So if it's like a squat session, and then afterwards you do a 15-minute AMRAP, and kind of tend to burn less than if we're doing like a 40-minute constantly moving,
Yeah, sure.
you decent heart rate endurance style one. So yeah, so that would be one session, and that would be 4 to 5 times a week, depending on if I was at home or away. And then the second session would be a cardio one, so it's basically just getting on an erg or a variation of ergs for up to an hour, and that again could be 600 calories, sometimes
Yep.
1200 calories.
Hmm.
And I'm only going off what the Cardiomood is showing me. Sometimes, how accurate is anything, but I often think about, well, how accurate is that? And it must be pretty damn accurate because the results are there. So it's not going to
Yep.
be wildly inaccurate because
No,
I've
no.
got to the place. So yeah, so I'd say ballpark 800 to 1,000 calories probably from training.
Well, even more, no? If you're saying 1,000 to 1,200 off the cardio session.
I think about 700 to
Yeah, but it's a decent chunk,
1,200.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a decent chunk in the cardio session because I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of food. And because at the moment, when I've set up that MyFitnessPal to do this weight loss of like half a kilo a week, it's saying my calorie target is only 1,500, which actually you still end up eating quite a bit. But at 1,500, if you do one of those cardio sessions at 1,200, you've almost done the whole thing. Like you can almost double your intake, can't
Yes, and what you've got as well with that 1,500 calories is you could do 500 of those in a bar of dairy milk.
you? Yep. Yeah,
That's
that
some
was that
damage.
shocker. Yeah. Hmm.
That's some damage. So yeah, so I found out over trial and error that because I was also doing some strength stuff at home because I wanted to in the later months I wanted to put on a bit of size and try some volume and get stronger in certain areas like strict press and bench press and bits and pieces and squat. I did manage to have a little bit of an injury which kind of threw that out for a while.
Hmm. Hmm.
But bang for buck, the Ski Erg over anything else just delivers the biggest amount of calorie burn for not only the time, but also the effort. So on an RPE scale, it's
Mm.
a lot more comfortable to spend 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes on the Ski Erg than it is to do the same thing on the assault bike or on the rower. But I'm working a lot harder for and literally only the focus on that calorie burn.
Mm.
If I stacked up the two, it would be like, okay, so that's where the value is, that's where the impact is, and the return on effort is in the ski. So I very quickly just migrated solely to ski and mixing other things in. Like I think you said the other week you were doing like ski and then sled push.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I
Yep.
really like that combination of stuff because you're getting the heart rate up and it's not super stressful. Like an assault bike is just cranking away, whereas a ski's like, okay, kind of get into a bit of a rhythm with it, and then putting some other stuff in. So for today, for example, I did just body weight Bulgarian split squats, like the lunges in between my intervals on the ski, and
Mhm.
that then supercharged everything because you're not just taking a little break. It's like, okay, I'll take a break and I'm going to do 10 each leg and then I'm going to get straight back on the ski. So it's kind of just constantly topping up, topping up, topping up. And that was pretty spicy after the third day of squatting at CrossFit, let me tell you.
I can imagine. So yeah, that was interesting. There was a big chunk of calories then in cardio because what I've found, the way my work goes and so on, I haven't got enough time probably to put together all of that food or enough time to put together the training. So I was just thinking for people who may be thinking, oh, I haven't got CrossFit nearby.
Hmm. Hmm.
Actually, it does look like the CrossFit is really an efficient way to get those calories burnt. And then this addition of the cardio in the afternoon also working. But you can offset it with just a lower requirement in the first place, can't you? So for me, what sounds like is really quite different is I'm hungry. Like I work out that I'm in a deficit because I'm hungry still.
Hmm.
And then I try and I just have a bit of protein to take the edge off feeling hungry. And I know I'm more or less in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But yeah, because mine's 1550 and I'm doing, because this morning I recorded it and I wrote it down because I was surprised. Yeah, my 531 training for 51 minutes is 361 calories, or was 361 calories this morning. Then I did 9 minutes 30 on the air bike, on the assault bike, and that was 115 calories. So the assault bike is almost 3 times as efficient,
Yeah.
roughly. Yeah, for
Could you just explain to me, like I am five,
Hmm.
in very short sentences, what 531 is when you say that? Because not everyone's going to know what
Yeah.
that is.
So 531 is something that I've been following for really a long time because it's a super simple percentage-based progression system for training barbell weights, basically. It is by Jim Wendler, so you can find him on Instagram. And it's been around now for really quite a long time, probably best part of 17 years or something. And it's basically the focus is to start light and progress slowly. And it was the original idea was to have a wave over a 3 week cycle and then a deload week. So you would start with work out your max. You take a percentage of the max, say it's 90%, and use that as a training max. And then all of your training work is done as a percentage of that lower amount. So you end up training quite light over time, but it allows you to keep progressing. So, I mean, I think we both did that original 531 a few times. And I've got all of his books, I think. And the most recent book is really really quite comprehensive and has got in there what a fat loss and prep. It's called Fat Loss and Prep program. And that's the training I'm doing at the moment. The reason I say 531 is because it uses this percentage based progression, but it's quite different to the conventional 531, the original program, which had this sets of increasing percentage, and then it was normally a maximum set as the last thing, wasn't it? It was like an AMRAP set, and then you maybe do some sets at a lower weight. Now I just work up, and then I have so I work up to the top set, which could be 85%, 90%, or 95% of this training max. Do 5 or more, and then I do 3 sets with a lighter weight and around 10 reps. The interesting thing in the program is that normally I'd be really focused on just trying to increase strength, increase strength, increase strength all the time. And I haven't really managed to increase my strength for a long time.
Hmm.
Having done this, I think the problem with that is that I haven't been paying enough attention to my diet because now seeing what I look like, having just done this and paying, and I guess it's not just a bit of attention, it's quite a lot of attention to it, and
Yeah.
just focusing on protein. Now I look bigger than I've looked for a long time. I mean, I'm not big still because I'm only 70 something kilos, but I look bigger than I have for a long time. And I haven't really lost any strength. So I've been missing a trick on diet for sure.
Mhm.
Because I switched the focus from just trying to get stronger to not worry about that and just get the work in to try and maintain strength. And actually, in the end, I've managed to increase it. So this is completely up the wall. I've got a bit stronger on stuff like, well, actually, a lot stronger. I'll have to dig that out. Maybe I'll dig that out for next time. But I started with sets of 5 on pull ups, for example, in between my main lifts for lower body. And now I'm up to sets of 5. That's a lie. Sets of 12. Sets of 12 pull ups in between.
Okay.
And then on dips, gone from 10s to 15, I think, something like that.
So, couple of things. So you look bigger because you're smaller.
Yeah, this happens sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah. But
And
actually, I think I look bigger and I'm bigger. I think that's the
yeah.
interesting thing. Yeah, because if you look at that picture, that isn't like I'm bigger than I was before. That's not, I didn't get smaller. I think it's because a lot of the time you get leaner, don't you? You look bigger. But I don't think that's happened there. I think it's the extra protein, just having protein instead.
And there's also, as a result of you weighing less, then you know you're able to do more body weight stuff. But that then, because you're doing more body weight stuff, makes you stronger. So
Yeah.
it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? With this, it just goes round and round in cycles. I just wanted to check. You said the latest version of 531. By the way, if you
Mhm.
are 5 years old and you're listening to this, and if you start 531 now, by the time you're 6, you're going to be jacked.
Beast.
Um, so yeah, the latest one, 531 Forever. I think I might have linked that one in the previous podcast because you dropped a little mention in of it, but it will be linked in the description below should anybody want to check that out. And links to Jim Wendler's stuff will be there for anybody.
Yeah, really excellent stuff and super simple to follow. And this was one of the other things that I was thinking about because when we were talking about your training and doing CrossFit, the process of doing CrossFit takes some friction out because you don't have to plan your training. No, you can just go to
Yeah,
CrossFit. Someone tells
turn
you what
up.
to do, you train, that's it. I don't do CrossFit. And it's not because I don't like it, because I probably would try, but I like this style of training and I keep coming back to this one because it works. But it's also super simple. I don't really have to think that much about it, but I do have to sit down and write it out. But it just popped out because I was thinking, well, it's quite a different style of training to CrossFit. I try and keep moving because I think over the time of doing this, you work out, like you say, that if the basically the movement continues, this is the thing that's really taking the calories out, isn't it? So
Hmm.
when I'm training, I'm trying to just keep moving. So I do my bench press, for example, move straight into doing the deadlift assistance, back to the bench press, straight into front squat. Sometimes I put core stuff in between. So to try and keep moving like that is really important. It almost turns it into a mini CrossFit workout. But actually, the calories overall are not even at the level of what one of your sessions is. And I guess that's where this huge difference in the amount you can eat comes in, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's obviously the intensity of the session as well, and sometimes you can push yourself hard, can't you? But other times, if there's somebody else there that you're maybe trying to keep up with or get ahead of, or that can give you that little extra push just to up the intensity a bit. But alongside all of the actual in the gym work and the programming and the planned sessions, there's also just little opportunities to get wins. Like if you go out for a walk, like if you've got 10 minutes, you go out for a walk, you're gonna over time, rather than not going out for a walk, you're gonna move more and burn more. So things like when got the kids, we'll walk into town and back, and that's over a mile, like each way, and
Mm.
it just adds up and adds up, and that's half an hour walk there, half an hour walk back, and you do something and whatever. But little choices like that, where okay, we're not going to take the car because I want them to be active and healthy, and that's one of the reasons why I started it. Well, it is the main reason why I started it, and to try and get other people involved along the way as well is super helpful. But not everybody's got that. But everybody who can walk, you know, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be equipment and gyms and CrossFit memberships, which are all quite expensive, and feel quite privileged, grateful to have access to it all.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be one of the things I was going to mention as well, is that with respect to getting these calories done, I used to, I think we talked about this before. I used to be able to basically sit on the assault bike for 1 minute before it drove me nuts. So I
Mm-hmm.
do 1 minute on the assault bike before I'd warm up for 5-3-1. And maybe this also goes into how effective this is being now. For some reason, I started to do a little bit more on the assault bike. I think I basically thought, well, that's a crap warm up. What are you doing? Like, you might as well just not bother sit on that for 1 minute. So I went to 5 minutes, and now I do 10 minutes at the start of the session. I then do
Mm-hmm.
5-3-1 because I'm actually warmed up. So that
Yeah.
works. And then when I finished again, if I've got enough time, I do another 10 minutes at the end. And the 10 minutes in the start and the 10 minutes at the end don't really feel like that much. But if you think that 9 minutes 30 is 115 calories, those
Mm-hmm.
two sessions, those two little blocks together, just a warm up and a cool down, is another 230.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do that times the 5 times I'm in there a week, then
Yeah.
you're talking about then serious chunk of calories extra on you, which is basically for free. So you don't
Yeah.
need to do loads.
You're there anyway, and it's a grenade bar. Yeah, that's a protein bar. Every time you like burn 200 calories, that's one of those cheeky little protein bars that you've got stuck at the bottom of your bag and think, oh, I'll just snaffle that in. It's one of them that you've done.
Yeah, that and your boy. Yeah, that also brought me to thinking about cheat meals and so on, because I think that way we deal with that is a little bit different as well. Because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that you, I think you mentioned that on like a Friday night or of an evening, you like to have some snacks and so on and watch a bit of TV and relax.
Mm-hmm.
And that I don't do that at all. Like I don't really relax. I don't watch TV. And I found when I got to the end of this block, I had a meal on Sunday. I went out for dinner on Sunday and had some Korean food. Really, really nice. And I thought, well, okay, that's all right. I was kind of looking forward to that. Tasted good. It wasn't too much of a cheat, and I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of in a good place. And I had this bug in my ear about like actually doing a cheat.
Mm-hmm.
I did another cheat then after that. I had like a burger and a nasty dessert. And honestly, I felt
Mm.
sick. I felt sick as a dog eating it. Like I didn't even want to eat it, didn't want to finish it. So didn't enjoy it at all. I was like, oh man. And I went home. But then I was basically craving junk food. So this sort of option for me, at least, to eat more and sort of go off plan, this makes it harder for me to then execute the plan in the first place than just sticking to eating clean all the time. Because once I'm rolling, that's fine. But if I
Mm-hmm.
add these cheats in, wow, man, that's so difficult for me to come back from that.
Mm-hmm. Did you have the burger the same night you had the ramen?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
I
well,
mean,
if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it.
yeah. That's an odd decision to make, right? Go out for dinner and then have a double dinner.
Well, I'm not a stranger to double dinner, let's put it that way. And it just felt a little bit too clean. Like I managed to get, like I say, a bit of like a worm in my ear or
Mm,
something about having this cheat meal. I was like, I'm done now.
mm,
So I almost like I'd talked myself into thinking I deserve this cheat meal. I was like, well, you don't do. Like what?
yeah.
For what? What's the win here? Because
Mm,
the Asian food was really nice, really good, really nice ramen with obviously just some noodles and some egg and some meat and stuff. It was great. And then but I was almost like I felt, well, I haven't cheated enough. I need to have
mm,
a big one. So I didn't even go as mad as I could have gone because I could have gone really nuts. But honestly, I didn't even want it. I was like, I don't even want this crap. And I thought, I don't know. I just had this weird thing in my mind about like, okay, well, you've done it now. So now have a cheat. I thought it was going to make it better. I thought like, if I do it, then I'm not going to want it anymore. But it made it worse. I didn't want it before. And then once I'd done it, then I was really in trouble. Because you know what I did the next day? I
yeah.
told you, didn't I? I sent you a message, didn't I?
Kettle
From the
chips.
supermarket. Yeah, man. I could not get out of there. 8 weeks I didn't even look twice at the kettle chips.
Not a sniff.
Couldn't get out. I was like, well, I've got my brain was going bonkers. And I think, and then you have to go through that loop again because that's the bit that really is difficult, I think, isn't it? At the start, when you're just trying to resist everything. I think we talked about this
Mm,
before, didn't we? Yeah, like
mm,
you've got to resist everything. You're not in the habit of training yet. Also, for me, I can't be bothered to take a picture. But when you've got the picture, that's such a motivation as well. Like when you actually see the progress, because now I've been
okay.
forcing myself to take a picture. So all of these things that you get into a habit of doing, and the point that you stop the habit, then you've got to try and like get back on that habit train again.
Mm.
Really, really, really difficult for me.
Well, with taking the photo, that's facing the truth, isn't it? I think it's
Don't want to face it.
well, that's the
Not
start.
interested.
That's the start. And you mentioned when we were messaging about there was a point at which you thought, oh, that's enough now. And it was pre the first photo that you sent. So the first one that I've put up. Hopefully I would have put that up in post. Tell
Yeah,
me
it was
about,
worse than that. It was
yeah.
worse, man. I was I went to just buy some clothes for work, I think. So I was in the changing room in the H&M. I was like getting changed. I was like, what do you look like? Like, what a mess, man. What a mess. Um, and I thought I took a picture. I wish I took a picture now. I might have even not taken the picture in the end because I was thinking, I can't believe it. And
Mm,
it's not even that bad. Do you know what I mean? Because the picture isn't that
mm,
bad. But
it,
the difference, when you see the difference, that's the thing that highlights it. I think just for 8 weeks of managing to just stick to what you said you were going to do, like
mhm,
that's some big change. Not as big as your one, because yours is really massive for 8 weeks. That's crazy because I think you were in, looked like you were strong, but you were in like worse condition, shall we say.
mhm,
And then have got in like another step past what I've managed to do. in 8 weeks. So like that's probably at least that like finished condition of yours is another 4 weeks on from me, isn't it? Because your total was 6 kilos, yeah, six
Yeah,
from
yeah.
80. Yeah, so 6 from 80, and mine is now well, then mine is now 5. But like you say, it's a bigger percentage of your total body weight, isn't it? If I lose another, because I'd try and do another two and go to 77 and see what that looks like. But yeah, I
And
just was getting changed. It was like, oh God, no. And then I can't remember what happened, but I didn't manage to get it going then. But that was only like a little bit before Christmas, maybe November or something like that. And yeah,
um,
just off.
and I was thinking about what you were saying with the cheat meals, and you had the bug in your ear about it, like 8 weeks in. There was like this little flea in your ear going, "Come on, you've done so well. Go and
Yeah,
smash
you
something
deserve
in."
it.
And
Come
it
on,
does
get it in you.
absolutely does happen. And I think, in my experience, when I do go and have the thing that the bug is in the ear about, I feel gross. And then it reminds me, it's like a very real, live reminder of why I don't do that more often. So it's almost like a one step back, 2 steps forward situation because I nip it as soon as I can afterwards to go, cool, yeah, I need some vegetables, man. This is rank. And then that then like spurs me on, and I feel like I've let the pressure off a little bit. Just go, yeah, you've done that thing now. That's why you started in the first place, because it can be really hard to get going. And then when you start, like we've talked about before, stacking the wins on and things become a bit more habitual and a bit more automatic, you kind of forget how difficult it was when you started because that's just what you do. And I'm over a year into tracking calories now and doing a very similar thing. So you haven't got the weight to lose, and I'm in a very similar condition now than I was, when I got down to kind of, I think I'm still about 74, 75 kilos. And that's just now how I live my life. Like I track everything I eat. I train, a couple times a day. Um, that's just what it is. And I've got so used to like I don't want really the takeaways. I still go out for meals and I have what I want, but what I want is different.
Mm,
Like I don't want the massive greasy burger. I want the ramen. Like I really enjoy that type of food and that kind of clean, fresh kind of feeling of eating something which is actually really good, but you feel like actually this tastes good and it is doing me good. It's just a shame that when we have that initial double dinner burger, it then kickstarts something in the system to go, you need more of that. Get yourself
yeah,
some of that,
get more
which
in you.
is
Oh,
how you find yourself in the kettle chip aisle. But what I want to know is what have you learned from doing that?
it makes it's easier for me to just not do it because I'm not. I think we talked a little bit about it before, and I still can't remember the terms for the two different types of people. One is moderator, and the other one is just like demolisher or something like that.
Okay.
No, I'm not a moderator. Like I can't have. Do you know what? This is even better. I've done this before. I thought I'm standing next to the kettle chips. And I'm thinking, don't buy the kettle chips. Don't buy the kettle chips. And I thought if I send you a message, then I can't. But I can't. If I said to you, look, listen, I'm stood here next to these kettle chips, and I can't not get them. I'm gonna be able to not get them, and I still got them. And you know what I did in my mind? I said, get them, and this is going to be an exercise. This is going to be an
Get them.
exercise in just like have two a day, right? And I made this picture in my mind of getting a plastic, like a resealable tub, putting the kettle chips in this tub, close it again, like eat two. Yeah, that's good. Enjoyed those two. Put that away.
Mm.
So I like thought, okay, that's what this is going to be. That's going to be a test of whether you can do it or not. Okay, get the kettle chips, do that. We'll try that. got in the van, opened the gate.
Well, you didn't have your tub, did
Come
you?
on,
You didn't have
mate.
your tub in the van. No
Gone.
wonder.
They were gone. I didn't even make it. So I learned that's not for me. Like it's easier. It's so much easier for me to just not.
Hmm.
So much easier. There's no win for me with the cheat thing. There's no win.
But you knew that before. Like you knew having the actual having the thing is worse than not having the thing. Like in terms of like in your house.
Yeah.
Like I know you've said before. Like if I've got that in the house, like if I don't have it in the house, I can't have it. So what did you really learn?
I think I still really learned the same thing. Is that I really can't have it there. I really can't have it. And when I went and had the ramen, it almost didn't feel like it's like it wasn't a cheat enough.
Mm,
So I think I really just learned that I can't cheat, or like I don't want to take the step backwards from there. It's like I don't get anything from that, and I knew I wasn't getting anything from that, but for some reason I couldn't not do it. Now it's a bit like this decision fatigue topic, I think, because it was like the worst time to go and do that as well. Like the end of the day on a Monday, on the Sunday night, I didn't go to bed on time because we were out eating. So it like stacked up as well, I think. That's the other thing I've learned this week twice now and from last week, which I already knew, is like it makes such a huge difference if you get enough sleep. I mean, this is not rocket science, is
yeah.
it? Get enough sleep, but the difference it makes for me with respect to just like getting my day going and everything and making the
Hmm.
right decisions and choices and so on throughout the day to keep everything else on track. Yeah, so it reinforced rather than learn, it reinforced this layering topic. When something goes off, like the whole thing is going off for me. So
Hmm.
everything needs to just be on all the time. It's easier for me to be on than it is for me to like go off a little bit and then come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, this cheat thing,
I
though.
I think that for me, the whole everything in moderation style, I was never
You're a
very good at that.
moderator.
But I never was. I was never very
Mm.
good at that because I was the kind of person that would eat the multi-pack of crisps because they're there. Like, or if there's a bag of something, then the whole bag's gone. Whereas what's the calorie sort of limit has taught me is that I can still have that, but if I want to achieve the goal of the calories of within the calorie limit, then I can't smash that whole thing.
Mm.
Or if I do decide to smash that whole thing, then I need to make up for it somewhere else. So I'll give you an example. On Friday, I made pad thai and I made a brownie, big tray of raspberry and peanut butter brownie. Now we're talking a 20 centimeter by 30 centimeter.
Let me just stop you a second there.
Hmm.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes,
With
I've
the
got a peanut.
brownie. I want that
Yeah,
now.
and that was so yeah, 20 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So it's like you'd have like a pasta bake oven dish.
It's like an
And
A4 brownie.
yeah, deep as well.
Big old mum.
And the whole thing was 6,500 calories.
What?
The whole thing. So a portion of it, like a serving of it, and a decent serving was like 700 to 800 calories. And I always eyeball a dessert and go, that's easy, 400, easy. So if I don't know, I'm like, that's at least 400. But I knew this because I made it. So I scanned all the ingredients in to create the whole thing and then divvied it down, worked it out. Um, and then I took that, like had a bit, enjoyed it, took it to some friends who were having some coffee the next morning, bring something, some food and some bits. A few people had it there. And then I was left with like a third of this brownie that I took back. Now, my kids don't like peanuts, which is why I'm into them, because they never want any of my peanut butter treats. But I gave them a little bit to try. And then I was just staring down the barrel of 2,000 calories of brownie.
It's not safe.
I just smashed it. Just smashed a lot because it was there. And what
Yeah.
else am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to throw it in the bin. Like, it
We're just
costs
going
me
to chuck this
money.
away.
And when I get to that place, I'm like, well, if I'm going to smash it, let me get it done. Because otherwise, I'm going to have a bit of it tonight. That's 700. A bit of it tomorrow. That's 700. A bit of it the day after. And then it's like it prolongs the agony of the withdrawal from all the sugar. Because that for me is 2 to 3 days of me waking up and going, I want chocolate. And that's awful. So why do I want to go, I want chocolate, eat the chocolate. I want chocolate,
Yeah, for
eat the
3 days
chocolate
in a row.
for
Yeah.
3 days, and then have the next 3 days of, well, there's other stuff in the house because it's been Christmas, Easter's coming up. There's other stuff here, and I don't eat that. But what I am able to do, and I'm not giving this as advice, but I then work back across like a week or something. So yeah, you had a you had a day where you went over calories. I wasn't massively over because I did a bit of training that day and I ate, because I knew I was going to the thing and I had the stuff. I was like, didn't eat tons throughout the day. But then I'll just burn it off. I'll just work off that debt over the next 2 or 3 days, and I'll slide in under the calories every day because I've gone, well, you did that, so now you pay it back.
Mm.
And something else that I do. So if I know I'm going to go out for a meal, or I want to have maybe a couple of drinks or something on a Friday and some nice food, or why we go have some popcorn with a film, whatever it might be, I'll try to account for that in the build up to it. So I go, right, there's a possibility here that you are going to just have 1,000 more calories than you would have on a normal day. So let's start working before you even get into debt. Let's put some money in the bank so you can just do that and go, sweet. And then you carry on with life. And it doesn't take much every day to be a couple of 100 calories under. Like I said, you go out for a
Mm.
walk, it doesn't take a lot. And because I train anyway, I'm like, well, I'll just not have that grenade bar that day, or not have those protein puddings on the sofa in the evening that day. Um, and I kind of I kind of look at it like a bit of a bank balance. I'll be
Mm.
like, right, I'm going to be over, going to be under, need to earn a bit more, need to pay a bit back, and all that kind of stuff. And a very very fluid across a week rather than a day. And I think that can get into people's heads where they go, well, I've blown it today, so what's the point? Might as well
Just
blow
go
it
for it, mate.
tomorrow.
Just go for it. Get it in your
Might
body.
as well,
Get
might as
all
well,
of it in you.
hey, start again on Monday. But
Yeah.
mate, it's Wednesday. So,
Yeah, next Monday.
so, so you can't just smash it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday come round. You might as well just reset and go again. And I think that can be a very difficult thing, like to overcome, like the inertia of that, having that food, wanting that food, having the food, wanting the food, having that, wanting it. It's so difficult to just step into your own programming and go, why do I feel like this? And what am I getting out of it? Like you've said about your thing, like what am I actually doing? What am I doing?
What's the
How did I
win here
get
for me?
how did I get like this?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the interesting thing though, when you talk about it like that, is then it makes it very clear why the tracking is so important for you,
Hmm.
because it gives you the flexibility. It's quite interesting because it gives you the flexibility then to not be on it all the time.
Hmm.
Whereas for me, that feels like a hassle. I want to limit the decisions I have to make about food and so on all the time. So
Hmm.
I looked through my fitness pal thing, and you mentioned that in your first month you wrote everything down for the month,
Yeah,
and then
hand wrote.
once you went in, yeah, exactly. So you hand wrote that, which then you really understand what's going on, don't you? Then in the
Mm.
second month you got the MyFitnessPal, and then you start tracking it digitally, and this saves a lot of time. And then you
Mm.
continue to do that. So I've been doing it 8 weeks now, more or less. I tracked 8 days total, and still did whatever it is. What do we say it was? 4, 5 kilos, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the result for sure isn't as good as it could have been, I don't think, because there'll be somewhere I've missed a little bit. But the hassle of having to make that decision about what should I eat? Do I eat this brownie thing or not? Do I track this or not? The trade-off is better for me to just say, because I basically eat the same thing every day for for all of my meals.
Yeah.
I eat the
Yeah.
same because then I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to think, yeah, I'm tracking all this for a month. I'm going to work out this average and so on. It's just like, no, this is what I've got for the day. Am I over or
Hmm.
not? Do I pass or fail? Pass, good. Fail, okay, tomorrow,
Mm.
do better.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it really, it's the same, isn't it? It's all about this calorie deficit, but the different approach. I couldn't do that like you do it, I don't think, because
Yeah.
that would really send me over the edge trying to think, okay, yeah, I want that. And at the moment I want it, I'm done. And I thought, yeah, I'll
Mm.
try it out with these kettle chips and see if I can just eat a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow. But if I was tracking it all, maybe that would work. But I think if you come back to the question of what did I learn, I think I already know how I operate from before. And maybe
Mm.
that's somehow an excuse that I could probably try harder. Then I could probably have two kettle chips and have another go at it. But it's much easier for me to just go, no, I don't do that.
Yeah. And now you've told me the story behind the texting me from the supermarket. I suppose you're at that point, you're then reaching out for some sort of external accountability to go. Like, if I'd have texted you back and gone, don't buy those, do you think that would have changed?
Yeah, probably. It would have probably been enough. I didn't do it for that. I some variant of that. But what I didn't want was for you to say, don't buy that. And then, like that's the excuse that I've got for buying it. It was more like if I send it, then I've acknowledged that I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to have to tell you that I did it afterwards. And I'm going to be like, ah, shit.
Mm.
But it just didn't work for some reason. And I've done it before and I nearly made it out of there as well. I nearly made it. But there was something that day, whether like this decision fatigue or it was triggered by those two previous days, because it's all just basically about what's going on in your brain, isn't it? It's like, can
Hmm.
you resist that or not? Are you strong enough to resist
Mm.
that or not? And that
Mm.
day, for whatever reason, with that like combination of things, just couldn't do it, man. It was crazy.
I've done it many times in the past where the um, the reward of putting the thing in the shopping basket in the shop or picking it off the shelf and going to buy it, the reward of stopping and putting it back
It's insane.
is greater than the reward of how good I would have felt if
Yeah,
I'd have eaten it.
yeah.
It's immeasurably greater, and I used that. Really did use it because I exactly like you had the thing in my head like go for it, go on boy, get yourself down there, go on pick up that thing, and I go there and I go yeah I'm getting it, I'm getting it. This is coming home. You're coming. You're not even going to make it into the car. I'm going to eat you. I'm going to eat you and scan the empty wrapper, and I'll pick it up and I go, no, I'm better than that. Don't want that. Boof. And God, that feeling. But I haven't
Mm,
had to do that.
mm,
But that has definitely been something that I've implemented in terms of, like we mentioned, this isn't the first time that I've lost weight. What I think this
mhm,
is the first time is that I have lost weight for no other reason than I want to set a good example and I think I can do this if I set my mind to it. And I have then continued pretty much everything about it for an extended period of time. And what's helped me do that is having other people around that are doing a similar thing. I think that's been
mm,
massively important. Um, but also, you touched on like being over 40, and I think maybe we might have hit onto something there where there's almost that you almost give yourself permission to not try.
mhm, mhm.
Like, okay, I'm fighting nature here. I'm fighting age and testosterone and natural stuff going on. And so what's the point? What's the point in trying? And I see that with people that I work out with. They'll use, I'm 45 now, or I'm 50, or whatever it might be. Use it as an excuse. And there's, you know, I don't know the science, but there's definitely something there, right? But there's also something there that just goes, I'm still going to try. I'm still going to try and see what happens. And that's maybe what gets in the way of some people is they just assume it can't be done, or they're not maybe not willing to try.
I think it's a bit like the picture. It's like there's a lot of it is if I try and fail, then I'm not good enough, isn't it?
Mm.
And there's an element of that in this space. It's like once I've started, then I've got to do it then. So that's for me, that's good because it means
Yeah.
basically I'll do it, whatever. If it's important enough, and that was one of the things I was going to say earlier, that when the pain of now is greater than the pain of whatever you need to do to get out of the present, then you'll do it. No? And this is a bit like that, isn't it? It's like that excuse of age. That's the reason why you can't do it. But that's not the reason, is it? And the same with the picture, isn't it? It's like, well, if I take this picture and I still look like this in this picture 8 weeks' time, well, then what did I do? Well, what happened there? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not good enough to do that, am I?
It reminds me of when used to have a family member who, well, they're not dead or anything, but they didn't want to be in any pictures, or they would position themselves in a picture in such a way that they would hide. And I just think, well, that's what you look like. Like, I can see you
Mm.
right now. Like, I'm actually looking at you right now. I know what you look like. Like, that facing the truth of it being in a photograph and then being able to see it. I think that's the scary bit for a lot of people. And that's what a lot of this is like you're facing into like what you've done to yourself. Like, what you've allowed yourself to do is now represented in how you look. Like, I look
Hmm.
like this because of what I've done and what I do,
Yeah.
whether that be good or bad. And I think that's just quite a hard thing for people to get their head around. And I also think that's why in the video I talked about one of the comments that I got immediately was, I can save a lot of people some time here. The first photo was taken like last after that person drank a load of water, had a load of salty foods, and had some bad lighting. So what they're saying I did was I already looked like that, and then I made myself look worse. And to what end? Like, who's got? I know, I know people do it, but what am I trying to prove to these? What am I trying to sell you? What am I going to get out of doing that? Like, okay, you'll watch a video and you'll listen to me. I don't make any money out of it. I'm not here to, benefit from that. I benefited personally, and I'm fucking proud of like what I achieved. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know how I did it, I'll lay it all out for you.
Yeah.
So it's just there's something about people who are trying to get themselves in a better position that the rest of the troop are just like clawing them back, going, yeah, that's rubbish. Can't do
Well, it's
that.
difficult, isn't it, to do because there's no reason. I mean, okay, maybe some people wouldn't want to look exactly like that, but I think part of the reason that I wanted to do it in the first place was like, there's no excuse for me to look like this. Like, what's the reason for me to look like this? Well, I eat too
Mm,
much. I can't deal with what I eat. So how can I not be just a little bit more controlled with what I eat and make sure that I train? So it's not actually that complicated. It's not
yeah.
easy, but it's not complicated. And I
No.
was thinking about this comment, and the comment I was thinking, well, massively downplaying what you've managed to do if you do it in the order that you did, which was put some weight on and went towards being lean in a really short space of time. If you'd have done it the way around that he suggests you've done it, which was get really lean and then drink
I
a
would
bunch
have
of
had
water,
to have
you've
got lean
still
in the
done it.
first place. Yeah.
You still did
It's
it.
it's mad. It's mad.
No,
And
it's really funny.
on your point of saying like why am I doing it? What am I doing it for? Somebody commented on there, but why though? Are you an underwear model? It's like, no, I'm not
I,
an underwear model. But why does there have to be any other reason than I want to, I feel good, I look good without my clothes on?
well, that is the reason, isn't it? I think the
Yeah.
super interesting thing for me is like there's no. It's difficult to do that, isn't it? It's difficult. This is clear, and there's a some sacrifice. And it's not even sacrifice, is it? If you think like sacrifice in the grand scheme of things, this is not sacrifice, is it? I have to think about what I'm going to eat, and I have to make sure I train. And that's basically it, isn't it? The most complicated bit is being able to manage yourself, isn't it? When, for whatever reason, your brain's going, I need to have that crappy food. And
Mm,
even just the exercise of being able to manage that compulsion to have that food or not go and train, which was one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about it. And you were talking about no issue with drink, no issue with food and so on. That's not an easy place for people to get to, is it? So you are poking at people with that, aren't you? A lot of
mm,
people. This is really a
mm,
difficult thing. And if you think like, for me, I was thinking like I was like, I'm in all right shape for 43. That first picture, like that's not bad,
mm.
but there's no reason that I can't be better. No,
Yeah.
but it's not easy to
No.
be better because actually there is a bit of effort in there, isn't there? Like there's a lot of friction in having a bit of a think about what you're going to eat. Do I need to eat this food? I've got all these fries on the table and now I'm not going to eat them. Like you have to make a lot of conscious choices throughout the day
Yeah.
to get to that place. And that's not easy for people to do, is it? Because they kind of just go with the flow all the time. It means you don't have
Yeah.
to push back against people, does it? It means you don't have to say when you go out for a drink, no, I'm just going to have a water
Hmm.
or lemonade or
Hmm.
whatever. It's not easy for people, is it? So I think it can also, it's not offensive, is it? But it makes people uncomfortable, probably.
That absolutely that point. A couple of things to finish up on, I think, because we've got a couple of minutes left, and I think it's just a massive topic we could probably do another podcast on. But with the whole drinking thing, it's the head of thing is that alcohol is the only drug that if you say you don't do it, you're assumed to have a problem. Like you've got
Yeah,
a
yeah,
problem because
yeah.
you're not
You've
doing
already
it.
got the drink problem, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing was in terms of just like short circuiting some of those bits and pieces about, oh, I want the thing, I want to eat that stuff. I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were saying if you can intercept that signal by doing something physical. So if
Mm.
you're trying to lose weight and not eat as much and you're feeling hungry and you don't want to eat that, although you want to, but you don't want to, you can just intercept that by say doing just 20 push-ups and it'll just chop that because I
Really?
very rarely feel hungry immediately after doing exercise, but that's a
Hmm.
little kind of
hmm hmm hmm
tactic to just
Yeah, I'd probably have to force myself to eat. Well, I force myself to eat. Like I have to make a conscious effort to eat. But I'm going to go for a walk now.
sweet. Yeah, let's wrap it up because these people have got places to go,
Food
people to
not to
see,
eat,
people to
stuff
see.
to train,
Yeah,
calories to burn.
absolutely. I'll close us out. So thank you ever so much for watching or listening. Really appreciate you hanging on. Please drop us a comment with any thoughts, feedback that you've got. Me and Matt are just trying to be better at podcasting, really, and having conversations. It's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. And we do appreciate everybody that watches. I do appreciate more than Matt does. Uh,
I appreciate it too. I'm coming around
and
to the idea.
yeah, and if you are new here and you've enjoyed the discussion today, then subscribe, share it with a friend. That helps us grow and gives us a little dopamine boost every now and again. Yeah, that's all from me. Do you want to say ciao?
Ciao.
See ya.